Hi everyone, greetings. It's been a very long while, but I am back. So for those of y'all who don't know who I am, my name is Exis and this is my channel Exis Does. Welcome. And if you ask me what I do on this channel, it is somewhere in between commentary, what I do, and my best. I'm thinking about changing that tagline this year. Today, I'm coming at you guys with something a little bit different. I'm doing a voiceover of my natural hair care progress. I really started taking care of my natural hair for like the past 3 years, I want to say. I got started with it in 2023. Yeah, so we're coming on 3 years. We're in the third year. So maybe like 2 years and a quarter. Yeah, let's do 2 years and a quarter to be safe. And when I started my natural hair journey, I was fresh off of creating a viral video about my discussions with the natural hair care community. That was actually my most viral video on my other channel before I chose to put all my pre-recorded content onto this channel. And that went very, very viral. I have different thoughts and opinions with how I feel about natural hair back then versus how I feel about it now. I do think that some of the predatory behaviors of the natural hair community still exist, but I think I'm in a headspace where after I've gone through this hair care journey, I'm willing to give the natural hair care movement a lot more grace for some of the things that have gone on, because I have to keep telling myself that the natural hair care movement has only been around for about not even 20 years yet, which is crazy because it technically went full commercial and got started on its social media platforms and all that in 2012. So we're not even hitting the 20-year mark yet. This is a very new phenomenon. So while I do think I hold some truth about the predatory practices within the natural hair community, I also don't think it was conducive in me being that frustrated and bratty towards the natural hair community. So yeah, if you were offended by that video, I apologize. I've taken that video down since off of my other channel and it's not going to probably be posted on here. So it'll probably be lost media until I feel comfortable enough posting it again. Anyway, I am doing this voiceover today to show you guys how I take care of my natural hair currently and all of the things that I have been doing to help my hair retain length and stay healthy. I have reached, I want to say past bra strap length when I stretch my hair long. You'll see a clip of that in this video recording, but it is past bra strap length, but it's not exactly hip bone length yet or tailbone length or my goal. It's not there yet. So that means that it's probably 16 inches or so, between 16 and 18 inches, right? I keep thinking about that Cat Williams clip where he's like, my hair is 19 inches long with no weave.
That joint was, my hair is 19 inches long and I have no perm. You don't? Oops. Oh, that's not a perm. No, it is not. Nice lady. Come run one of your gnarled fingers.
I can't wait to say that when my hair gets to 19 inches. In this video, you'll see that I am using no more than 3 hair care products, actual hair care products, with the exception of one that's free, that's water. So technically 4 hair care products, but really it's 3. I am using a 2-in-1 conditioner, Scala, which I've heard things about Scala. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things, I've heard Scala isn't good for type 4 hair. I've also heard that Scala is pretty good for all types of hair. You just have to pick a certain type of Scala. So I just picked the Scala with the yellow container. I'm also using a clarifying shampoo. It's low porosity, so I made sure that the clarifying shampoo was low porosity, and my beloved hair grease. Yes. I am a hair grease fanatic. I love hair grease. Shout out to the OGs out there, Henny and Narada, for encouraging or starting out the hair grease movement. And I just want to show you guys what it looks like to use as little hair care products as possible and still get pretty good results. I think a lot of us get wrapped up in this product can do this and this product can do that, and this product can grow my hair down to my ankles. This brand can grow my hair down to my ankles. I just have to buy all these 10, 12, 15 products in order to do so. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that's true based off of some of the things I have done with my hair care journey. You know, I am a fine hair, low density natural. I have type 4A to type 4B hair. So that means that if you are a type 4C girly and you are watching this video and you don't feel seen, I completely understand, but I just want to put that disclaimer out there because I don't want to mislead my audience, and I do know there are struggles that 4C hair girlies go through trying to find that representation. But maybe you too also have low density and fine natural hair, and maybe I can be that representation for you. There's not a ton of representation for fine haired low density naturals. It doesn't tend to perform well. The hair that tends to perform well on social media is higher density, thicker hair, strand hair, and it's very, very rare that you see fine-haired, low-density natural girlies who are able to retain length down to their hips or hip length or, you know, past their butt, you know. And one of my biggest goals is to at least be one of the girls in the online space that is able to provide that representation. I just want to show other fine natural hair girlies, low density hair girlies, that that's possible, because we really don't see a lot of that. And unfortunately, I did discover that in the first year of my natural hair journey. I especially discovered it when I was doing a lot of mini twists and chunky twists and mini braids and chunky braids, and I realized real quick, like, oh, this is why my hair doesn't look like this girl's in the picture. Of course, I have my insecurities about my hair, and I'm working on them. For example, one of my biggest insecurities is that when I stand in the sunlight, you can see through all of my hair. At this point where I've come to terms with what my hair can and can't do, and I'm working on being at peace with it. But for a while I was a little frustrated, and this frustration on like why my hair can't do certain things that I see the girls online do has been an issue for years. I'm not just a spring chicken to the natural hair community. I first went natural when I realized I wasn't going to have access to someone to silk press my hair often in college. So I was like, you know what, screw it, let me go natural. And I swear it was a whole decade of like fail. I would love for more naturals to discuss the density of their hair, the length or the thickness of their hair, and be more specific in the type of representation that they're trying to showcase to their audience, so that people who are looking into keeping their hair healthy and retaining length know what to expect when they can really pinpoint what their hair type is. You know what I mean? But anyway, if I were to start all over again, like tomorrow, on how I'm going to take care of my hair, the very first thing I'm going to do is not like throw out all the products that aren't good for my hair, raid the local beauty supply store so that I can buy new healthy organic hair care products, or a hair care brand that's growing hair well, or invest in like this top tier luxury hair care brand with organic products. No. This is really, really important. The first thing I would do is I would get my diet in check. I would make sure that I am eating healthy enough and that I am getting all the nutrients that I need so that my hair can grow in a healthier environment, okay? And so this could really look like you eating more fruits and vegetables with your meals. That's what I've been doing. I think it's very important that Black women understand that diet has a lot to do with your hair growth, and like not just your health and your waistline, but also with your skin, your hair, your nails. Like it really does impact everything, you know what I mean? And I can definitely tell, sticking to the routine I have and washing my hair when I do, I can definitely tell when I haven't had enough protein 1 month versus when I have been eating healthy enough another month. Honestly, the first thing I would do is try to get my diet in check, and if I can afford to, I would go to a medical professional and ask them to do a blood panel. So that could look like a primary care physician, that could look like a phlebotomist, a nurse, whoever is qualified to do that service for you. Get your blood work done and ask them what you might be deficient in and what you need to work on. If you're deficient in vitamin D, ask the doctor, or the medical professional, what the solution is. They might tell you, eat more salmon, or they might tell you to take a supplement. At that point, it's up to you. But really, if you can't afford to get to a doctor, and if I couldn't afford to get to a doctor, then I would definitely just change my diet around and just eat a lot more healthier. I would focus on eating foods that would be high in iron, vitamin D, and high in protein as well. Protein is a very, 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 very big one, okay? And so when I have all of those things working for myself and working in my favor, when I do start the hair care journey and the hair routine and taking care of my hair, that will allow for my hair to, grow in an optimal environment. I said that it took me 10 years to get like my natural hair care routine in check. I mean that. I really do. And part of the reason why is because I would try these hair care techniques, these elaborate hair care techniques. I'd use like 7 to 8 products, wash and goes up the wazoo. And at this time, I was washing my hair a lot more frequently than I do now. When it came to wash day, my hair was shedding really, really bad. I'd do a wash and go and my hair looked very thin and sparse. I could not do a braid out. Okay, again, I'm a fine natural. Okay, so braid outs already are like, depending on how you style it, they could look very, very thin. Okay, so I'm a fine natural and I'm doing these braid outs and they do not look full at all. They look very odd and I'm very confused as to why my hair does not look like the person who did the tutorial online. Now that I'm older, I understand, well, my hair isn't going to look exactly like that person. But back then, it was very, very frustrating to the point where there was a time where I was just like, you know what? Like, I give up. Like, I'm not gonna focus on, taking care of my hair like that. I'm just going to do the basics because this stuff isn't working for myself. And it really wasn't until I actually said, and I went to not even like a natural hair care specialist to do my hair, just a person who was doing hair in their home, right? And they took one look at my hair and I asked them, hey, so what do you think I should do with my hair in order to grow it, and keep it healthy? And she turned to me and she says, diet has a lot to do with it. Like having a healthy diet really impacts your hair health. And I didn't really understand quite exactly what she was saying at that time. But I was like, okay, if that's how you feel, like, sure, like, diet, I'll prioritize diet. And then a few months after that, I looked into supplements. I started out with the Main Choice hair care vitamins, and immediately I started changes in my hair. I started to see that my hair was a lot thicker than it usually is. It was still shedding quite significantly because, again, like, I wasn't prioritizing protein, but at the very least it was a lot thicker. And then when I sat in the woman's chair, again, the salonist chair, she was like, your hair looks very healthy. I can tell you're really taking care of your hair now. And I'm like, wow, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, it took me 10 years to realize and to prioritize like a good diet. Even when my hair was long, when I was like a teenager, and when I say long, like I retained enough length, right? But my hair would always shed and it looked very, very thin and I did not know why. Fast forward to that time when I started taking supplements, I kind of figured it out in my head, and that's when I became a supplement junkie. And so going back to supplements real quick, I don't know, like, I'm not a medical professional, okay? I should have prefaced the beginning of this step by saying I'm not a medical professional, but I think it would be better for most people to get your nutrients in as naturally as possible without supplements. Sometimes it's like uncontrollable. Like if you're a vegan, you might have to take a B12 supplement like that. You're a vegan, it's going to be harder for you to get B12, or vitamin D is very, very hard to get like through food unless you're like eating salmon or tuna or something. I had to kind of learn the hard way. Overloading on supplements and herbs and taking that stuff orally can really F you up. And I actually learned this lesson last year because I would just overdo it with all the supplements in the world. And then I'd wake up in the morning and then throughout the day and then just wonder why, like, I had all these weird aches and pains and I was nauseous and I couldn't eat the foods the way I used to. It was a whole mess. Now I know what was really tea. Okay, now I know what was going on. Like I said, I'm not a medical professional and I'm not a registered nutritionist or any of that. But what I will say is that in my experience, getting your food as naturally as possible might be more beneficial in the long run than getting it through supplements. And then most importantly, you really want to prioritize your protein. You want to make sure, like, at least for me, I get at least 100 grams of protein a day now. I try my best to do that. And then occasionally I'll splurge, but protein is a really big one. Want to focus on the inside first before you do any external routines or use any external products to help grow your hair, because it's always going to show up on the outside how you're taking care of it primarily first, right? And then sure, like maybe the hair care products that you're using will probably help keep your hair healthier, but like, you know, you could have hair down to your ankles and it looks sparse and thin and you don't know why. Lo and behold, you have an iron deficiency, and that's probably why. I'm just kind of shocked. Even now, there are so many natural hair girlies, like when they make the natural hair video of like how they retained all this length and what they did and what their routine is. They never talk about diet. They never talk about diet and the importance of a good diet, and that you really have to pay attention to what you're putting inside of your body and not what you're putting on your hair. Because some of us, you know, especially if you have fine hair, that could really impact how certain styles look on our head. It could really impact how much shedding happens in the shower. It could definitely impact like how your hair looks 1 month versus how it looks another month. In this video, I am washing my hair and I really focused on eating more protein and eating more fruits and veggies. And I immediately realized complete difference night and day from last month, where I was eating enough protein, but I wasn't prioritizing things like iron and vitamin D enough. I was trying to hit my protein. Sometimes it was a little difficult, but I was doing my best. And it reflected in my hair. It looked very thin. My hair shed a lot. It's not going to really flourish if I'm not taking care of my body on the inside, if I'm not eating fruits and veggies, if I'm not, you know, eating enough protein. You know what I mean? I never want to encourage eating disorders, okay? Or EDs and toxic diet culture. I just say like add on instead of taking away. Like you could still eat the food you want to, just look at maybe healthier options of that food, or just add more fruits and veggies to those options so that, you know, you're getting a decent amount of nutrients in. So the second thing I would do is really prioritize my technique and my hair care routine over hair products. Okay, you could probably use the products interchangeably, and as long as your technique is good, your hair will still probably flourish. You will probably still be able to have healthy hair. You'll probably still be able to retain length. That's a very unpopular opinion, especially in the day of age of like fad hair care trends, fad hair products. I heard of the Abby Young method, where this lady with beautiful hair and she's giving y'all advice on how to keep your hair healthy and grow it and all of that. And honestly, a basic hair care routine and technique is always going to trump the different types of products you have, right? Like Abby Young's over here recommending all different types of products for you to use on your hair. And honestly, unpopular opinion, if you're a lazy natural like me, you could really get busy, down and dirty and froggy with like no more than 3 products, like I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? You really don't need that many products, and you don't need to keep changing and switching out products if you don't want to. In my opinion, I could be wrong. This is what works for me, but what will always be more superior is the routine I do. Having a consistent routine and not moving too much from the routine and the technique I have, making sure that if I am very picky about certain products that I am using, I'm using products that kind of fit into the type of hair I have. So I have low porosity hair. I believe I have low porosity hair. But honestly, I do think that you could use any type of product if you really, really wanted to. You just have to be disciplined in your routine. There is a creator on here called Mrs. Mississippi. She uses like Head and Shoulder shampoo, if I'm not mistaken, and Blue Magic hair grease. She was able to retain a lot of length on her own hair and then also on her kids' hair. You know what I mean? So that just goes to show you that you really just have to focus on a consistent technique. Don't change up the technique every single time, right? What I first do is I detangle my hair. Sidebar, it took me a while to realize that you had to detangle your hair with conditioner. It wasn't until I was in like my mid-20s you had to detangle your hair with an actual conditioner, right? So anyway, first things first, I get myself a detangler. Detangle my hair with a detangling brush. I make sure I'm detangling my hair the long ways and not the horizontal ways, not the sideways. So I make sure that I'm detangling my hair from the bottom and working my way up while the brush is facing the long way. I'll show a clip of that here, what I'm talking about. Make sure my hair is damp. I'll take the conditioner, slather it on a section of my hair, and then I'll just go through and brush the detangling brush through my hair long ways. And once I get enough hair out, I will twist my hair. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go in and finger detangle. I'm trying to do that more, so I'll do a finger detangling first, just so that when the brush hits my hair strands, it's not pulling too much hair out. After I finger detangle, I'll go in and I will use a detangling brush. And then when I feel like it's fully detangled, I will twist that section up. On each side of my head, I twist my hair up into 4 sections, and then on my whole entire head, I should have 8 sections of detangled hair. Get my hair wet again, and then I will use a clarifying shampoo to wash my hair. I wash my hair a little bit differently in the same way that I detangle my hair in sections. I like to wash my hair in sections just so I can be thorough. And I also make sure that I'm detangling while I'm putting the shampoo on my hair too. So I'm always detangling, and so I just want to make sure that my hair as separated as possible, because fine hair has a tendency to clump up if you're not careful. So yeah, definitely will go in and I will tangle my hair again with the shampoo, but I am shampooing my hair. I start at the scalp, like I really scrub the scalp of my hair, and I go down, like I'll bring my hands down the long ways to the hair strands, and then I'll wash the hair strands, and then I'll twist my hair up and repeat again on the next section. After that, I will go in and wash my hair like 3 times. I know that's a little excessive. I try to wash my hair 3 times. I'll go in the shower, rinse my hair off with all 8 sections, then I'll section it again into 2 separate sections on either side of my head. That would be 4 sections. Wash my hair out, wash the hair out again with the shampoo, and then one more time just to make sure my scalp is really clean, especially if I'm using hair grease, because you don't want a lot of product buildup with hair grease. Wash my scalp one more time, and then I bring it into my hair strands, and then I rinse my hair out. So yeah, that is what I do to wash my hair. And then I will use a deep conditioner. I'll do a deep conditioning treatment, and then I'll put my hair in sections, and then I'll bobby pin my hair up. Usually I have a showering cap, but unfortunately I ran out of showering caps, so I will just use a plastic bag. I'll put it on my head, I'll put a heat cap on, and I'll keep it on my head for 15 to 30 minutes. Or however long the directions want me to keep the heat cap on. Because a product like Scala is 2-in-1, where it can be used as a conditioner and a leave-in, and I've heard that people also use it as a detangler as well. That's the only product I'm using. Like, I rather just stick to as minimal products as possible and not overflow my hair drawer or closet with a bunch of hair products that I don't use. That's the one thing I don't want to do. I actually probably have to declutter a lot of the hair care products I have. I don't really want to be a hair care product junkie. I just want to use what works. After I do that, I will rinse the hair conditioner out, and then I will make sure I rinse it out thoroughly. So sometimes I'll stay in the shower for like 10 to 7 minutes because I'm an amateur. You know, I want to make sure that like my scalp is clean. Then I will I will dry my hair with a cotton shirt, because you're not supposed to dry your hair with a towel. Don't ask me why, but I'll dry my hair with a cotton shirt. Use like a cotton towel, and the closest thing I have is a cotton shirt. I will put in a leave-in conditioner, and then I will braid my hair up again with hair grease. Okay, and that's my hair care process. All right, and I'd like to repeat that you really don't need to use that many products, and you don't need to change up every product you're using every so often. You don't have to keep changing the technique of how you take care of your hair. You just need to find a routine that sticks for you. And I think that could be different for so many people, right? I'm a natural. God, can't believe I'm saying that. Yeah, but like I'm like a natural hair girly, where my goal is I want to be able to wear my hair naturally in like a braid out with as minimal hair manipulation as possible. You know what I mean? And then there's some naturals out here who are straight naturals. You know, that's a thing. They have natural hair, but they get their hair heat trained and they go to a beautician, or maybe they're really good with their hair and they make sure that they trim their hair, you know, every 3 months or so in order to ensure that they don't have any split ends. And then there's like dreadlock naturals where they have their hair locked up and then every so often they have to go and get it retwisted. There's plenty of different kind of naturals. I am not prejudiced against any kind of natural. You be the best natural you can be. What I will say though, if you are a straight haired natural, and this is just my opinion, you know, I'm a girl on the internet, and you know, it's my opinion, but I strongly recommend at the very least you go to a hairdresser. Can really take care of your hair and you can build a solid relationship with them, right? Not a hairdresser who's trying to sell you snake oil, get you to chop off all your hair so that you feel like you're emotionally tied to them and have to pay whatever unrealistic rates they have. No, not that hair person. A hairstylist where you have a relationship, they know and understand your hair, and they can tell you when, like, hey, it's time for a trim, or I'm noticing that you have breakage. Because I don't know much about straight hair naturals, but I do know that, like, you want to make sure you're heat training your hair, right? Which is technically a version of heat damage, but with different phrasing, right? You just want to make sure that you trim the damaged ends off, right? As far as trims go for me, because of the way I style my hair, I trim my hair every 6 months, and I do it myself. I am not sitting in anybody's chair. I do not feel comfortable enough to sit in anybody's chair to have them trim my hair. I just want it to be the type of natural hair girly where I really don't have to rely on, you know, a hairdresser in order to style my hair. I can just kind of do it myself, you know what I mean? So that's also one of the big reasons why I decided to go natural, is, you know, just so I have that autonomy. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear or see the "hey hun" text message right when I'm like in the parking lot of the salon right before I'm about to get my hair done. Like, no, that's my biggest nightmare. All right. Technique / routine is always going to be more superior than hair care products. And really, if you wanted to use like a 3-in-1, like detangler, conditioner, leave-in, you could. With a clarifying shampoo, you really could, and be about your day. It just depends on the type of natural you are. I'm a natural, like I'm just baseline natural. So, you know, my routine is going to look different than your routine. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why I'm able to just kind of do my hair in this way. And this will lead me into my next step. So the third thing I would do if I were to start my natural hair care journey over again, and this is like the final thing, is I would really prioritize low manipulation protective hairstyles. Yes, I would. And so that is a big one, because that's the reason why I'm able to probably get away with not using that many hair care products in my hair, or not having to constantly like wash my hair and put my fingers in my hair frequently. Now, I will say I've done this recently, but the only time I'm putting my fingers in my hair now is when I'm taking out my braids that I put on either side of my head, just to detangle them gently, just to see how they're growing, just to see if anything's good, or just because I kind of want to wear them out. And then I'll braid it back up again, almost immediately, or I'll leave it out for a couple hours and then braid it back up. But for the most part, I don't wear my hair out like 80 to 90% of the time. I do not. And I know there's going to come a time where I'm going to experiment with it a little bit more and like wear my hair out a little bit more often, just to see if I can get used to that. But like 80 to 90% of the time, I'm wearing my hair in a low manipulated protective hairstyle where my ends are protected. Okay. I think it's very important for you to protect your ends. That has helped a lot in my hair growth journey, because I don't have to worry about my hair brushing against, you know, the cotton of my shirt when it's down my back. I don't have to worry about my hair potentially breaking off or snagging on something. I've noticed that maybe the reason why some of our hair breaks off at a certain length is because it's constantly brushing up against our shirts. And our shirts are made of cotton, and cotton kind of sucks up everything, you know. You should be sleeping with a silk scarf or a silk bonnet or on a silk pillowcase, or all three, by the way, BT dubs, okay? All of y'all need to be sleeping with a silk scarf, a bonnet, and a silk pillowcase, okay? Like, that cotton is like ruining your skin and your hair, and you know. Anyway, so yeah, you when your hair is like on your shirt, and it rubs up against your shirt, that might be a contributing reason as to why your hair could be breaking off. But like, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a hair expert. I don't know everything about hair. I just know what works for my hair. And I also know that I'm lazy when it comes to styling my hair. And so at the very least, what I'll do if I really feel snazzy, especially since I'm trying to protect most of my hair, I'll either wear my hair out maybe a couple hours out of the day and put it back up for the rest of the week, or I will put on a shake and go wig, and that, you know, that just works for me. But honestly, between step 2, focusing on the technique and routine over hair care products, and step 3, low manipulation protective hairstyles, I feel like those are the things that are going to like really help you retain length for your hair, and then also help your hair stay healthy. And the reason why I only trim my hair every 6 months is because I'm protecting my ends. So in this video, you will see that I am, you know, braiding my hair. I put in the leave-in, I put in the hair grease after the leave-in, and then after I put in the hair grease, I braid my hair. And I braid my hair wet. I no longer use a lot of blow drying or a lot of heat on my hair. I just don't, if I don't have to. The only time I'm going to blow dry my hair is when it's time for a trim. So every 6 months. I'll braid my hair into 4 braids on either side of my head, totaling into 8 braids. And then from those 8 braids, I will create like one big braid. So I'll braid them into one big braid on either side of my head. I'll put a couple more like passes of hair grease on there. And then I will pin my hair up in the back of my head. And you should see that here when I'm going through my hair. Yeah, and I'll wear it like that for like 90% of the time. Yes, I will. Absolutely. Even when the back is looking all types of funky and messed up. Yes. I do not care. I really don't care. I think that the things that we obsess over our hair as Black women, it does really impact and contribute to like why a lot of us might be having trouble with retaining as much length as we do. We're so creative with our hair. We are, and I love that. I love that. But this whole idea and notion that certain styles do not equal like your hair being done. Like, for example, if you have your hair just blow dried out in a blowout, back in the day, back in my day, that was seen as, you know, your hair's not done. You need to have your hair straightened. Let's whip out the Lustrous Pink Moisturizer and the Blue Magic and straighten your hair down with all these chemicals and stuff. You know what I mean? Not Blue Magic with the chemicals or Lustrous Pink Moisturizer, but like, you get what I'm trying to say, right? The natural hair care movement is so new, and as of recently, we have just come to terms with or are at peace with, you know, styling our hair naturally, wearing those natural blowouts, wearing our hair in braid outs, wearing our hair in afros. You know what I mean? And that was only recently. And I feel like there's just like this stigma still that our hair always has to be done. Or a more concrete example, our edges have to be laid, right? Like everybody has to lay their edges. I don't lay my edges. I do not. Luckily, I think I'm at a certain length where I don't have to lay my edges if I don't want to. I can just rebraid the top 2 braids if it's really bothering me and I got to get my edges in check. But I don't put any gel, any cream, none of that on my edges. And I feel like a lot of us who are trying to save our edges and do that type of stuff are trying to, you know, manipulate our edges and, you know, do the baby hairs, or maybe you have a little bit of leave out and a half wig or a sew-in, right? I think that contributes a lot to it because we have to have our hair laid, fried, and dyed to the side, right? And this is a disclaimer. I love the baby hair trend. Okay, I think the baby hair trend is very cute. I think it's very beautiful. And I was so proud of myself when I learned how to do my own baby hairs. But I did also notice how my hair was kind of drying out a little bit at the edges. And so I don't do baby hairs as often. I also have baby hairs myself. So I don't feel like I have to do that as often. But still, yeah, we got to change our views on what we consider done for our hair and what that looks like, right? Like someone would look at my hair at the back of my head and be like, oh my God, her hair looks awful. Her hair is not done. I had a boss that would always dunk on me because I did not comb my hair at work. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing to think about. But like, I didn't care because I knew that I was protecting my hair at the end of the day. I was protecting my hair in the way I felt was best. Some people might not see it as the best way to protect your hair, but for me, it worked. You know what I mean? With like low manipulation protective hairstyles, what I did, like I said, is I took the plaits on either side of my head and I braided them into 2 big plaits, right? And then I went to hair gel. I'm in hair gel, guys. And I think that's another thing. At the very least, if you're trying to grow your hair, retain length, your hair is always growing. If you're trying to retain length, you might want to consider going to hair gel. Hair gel is where you leave your hair alone and you put it in like a protective, low manipulation protective style for like anywhere between a couple of months to a couple of years. That's what hair gel is, okay? And that's what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years. I've just been like, all right, like this style, these braids, put them up, pin up the ends, go about my day. I do not manipulate my hair in any way. I haven't gotten any popular hairstyles like the box braids. I would really like to get some crochet braids because I think that would be the closest thing to a long-term protective-ish kind of like style where it's not pulling on my hair too much and my hair's still in cornrows, but that's still up in the air. Personally, I would want to do the box braids myself or the crochet braids myself. Changing up your hair and having your hair manipulated so many times, especially in the year, could probably contribute to why your hair might be at a certain length and it won't grow outside of that, or why it might plateau. That might be a huge contribution, right? You want a sew-in in the winter, a silk press in the fall, boho locks in the spring, box braids in the summer, right? Like you want all of these hairstyles, you know what I mean? In 1 year. And so you have to think about you going to the hair salon, and hopefully you're going to the same hairstylist that knows about your hair, right? Hopefully you're not jumping from stylist to stylist because they're probably not going to have a good relationship with your hair to begin with. Either you're going to the same stylist and they're like manipulating your hair then, or more often than not, like you're jumping from stylist to stylist. They're manipulating your hair. They're not familiar with your hair, right? And so you're doing all of these hairstyles in 1 year, and then your hair is being weighed down by the box braids. And then the leave out is fried dyed to the side because you're trying to get it to blend in with the sew-in you had installed in the winter, right? The yaki straight Brazilian sew-in that you had installed in the winter. And then your whole hair is being fried dyed and laid to the side when you get the silk press, right? And again, if you're a silk press natural, like I said, I think that you really got to commit to that, and you need you got to be locked in with your that hairstylist better know your hair back and forth, or at the very least you need to know your hair back and forth from scalp to straight to ends, okay? Like, girl. Anyway, and then you go back to the boho locks, and now your hair is being weighed down by the boho locks. And if you're a fine natural hair girly, you might want to be careful with braided hair extensions where your hair is being weighed down, or even when your hair is being sewed down, because that can put a lot of tension on your hair and your hair could break off. I've had that happen before. It's not fun. So you want to be careful about those things. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you are trying to keep your hair healthy, I would recommend, and something I would do if I had to start over, is go to hair gel. Get a protective style, whether that is chunky twists, chunky braids, mini twists, mini braids. I know for fine haired girlies, chunky twists and chunky braids probably work a little bit better. And, braid up your hair, twist up your hair, keep your ends up and out of the way so that they're not brushing against anything. And you sit there for like a few months to a couple years, depending on what your goals are. If you want healthy hair, then you maybe don't need to do these things. Maybe you can just stay at step 2 and just focus on a good technique and a consistent routine, and then have your hair styled however you want, or work with a stylist that knows how to take care of your hair, right? But if you're trying to retain length, yeah, hair gel it is. All right, go to jail. Do not collect $200. Shout out to Monopoly. Does anybody even play Monopoly anymore? And I think this was a really big contribution to why my hair is now flourishing in the way I've never seen it before, is because I don't do too much to it. I just leave it alone for the most part. And then I wear it out like 10 to 20% of the time. Most of the time it's just up and away, because honestly, like I said, I'm lazy. I don't want to have to deal with my hair too much. And then when I do, it should be easy and I should know what to expect. right? So yeah, like go to hair gel. Like I don't know what to tell you. Using styles with your natural hair also. And then take that extra step to protect your ends by keeping your ends up and out of the way. After I braid my hair on either side with my plaits, I will just tuck in the ends, and you'll see me do it in this video. I'll just tuck in the ends and they will just sit in my hair. And yeah, I'll go about my day until I have to wash my hair again. So this is a disclaimer to my hair care routine. I wash my hair every 3 weeks now. Yeah, I try to wash my hair every 3 to 4 weeks. Some people would really disagree with that. They would strongly disagree with that. They would say you need to wash your hair every 2 weeks, right? I used to wash my hair every 2 weeks with like the protective hairstyle in my head, because I've seen some girls do that before, right? Where they just wash their hair with the protective style still in. I don't do that anymore. The hairstylist that I went to said that I probably shouldn't do that. Just every 3 weeks, take it out and then wash it, detangle it, and then put your hair back in, right? So yeah, that's just what works, you know? My hair stays moisturized with the hair grease because I have that coating of the hair grease on my head. It can stay moisturized for up to like 4 weeks before I have to take it down. I haven't pushed it to like 8 weeks. Like no, girl. But like, at the very least, if I'm good, I'll wash it every 3 weeks. Otherwise, I'll probably wash it once a month. And a lot of people might disagree with that, but that's what's working for me. And again, you probably have to just see what works for you as you go on your natural hair care journey. No matter what type of natural you are, you just want to keep an eye on like how your hair reacts to things. And my hair seems to be reacting well and flourishing when I wash my hair every 3 weeks. Disclaimer, I am not a hair care specialist. I am not a medical professional. I'm not licensed, okay? So I'm just giving you the advice of what works for me. Something can work completely different for you, okay? Maybe you might have to wash your hair every 2 weeks, right? But for me, that's just what works, okay? And yeah, I just like leave my hair alone, and it's been doing pretty well. So yeah, also I want to add that when you do style your hair with no added pieces, no extensions or none of that, and you do it on your own, you can really observe and pay attention to, you know, what your hair might need or what your hair doesn't need any more of. Okay, so I am going to end things here with some final thoughts that I want to discuss, like the hair care industry as a whole, not the natural hair movement, okay? That's different from the natural hair care industry, but the natural hair care industry and how predatory it is to their audience. It took me like really sitting down and being patient with my hair instead of just doom scrolling on a social media platform or looking at a bunch of, you know, natural hair care influencers who have an allegiance to the product that they're selling, for me to realize that you don't need that many products to style your hair. You just need to use what works. And sometimes what works is the old school stuff. Grease, Lustrous Pink Moisturizer, Blue Magic, you know what I mean? All this new stuff that we have, all these new hair care products we use and we put on our hair, and we overinvest and we spend so much money, you know, on these products, doing these 10-step hair care routines, Abby Young methods and all, right? And then we're still frustrated and struggling as to why our hair is not flourishing, is not healthy, is not retaining length. You know what I mean? And I feel like there is some intention behind the natural hair care industry in like promoting that. You always see, for the most part, in a lot of these hair care brands, that they promote a certain hair texture more, they promote a certain density a lot more, and they always kind of sell this fantasy that if you use their product, all their products, those products and that company will help you get your dream hair, your hair all the way down to your ankles, you know, or full healthy afro of hair. You know what I mean? And honestly, I think that when we keep spotlighting and focusing on the products and have that hold more priority over techniques, it's to keep us buying more hair care products and, you know, shampoos, deep conditioners. Over the past 2 years of me trying to take care of my hair, a really, really big one was Ayurvedic herbal oils and rosemary oil. And I would just see that all over everywhere on social media. Does Ayurvedic herbal oils work? How to make your own Ayurvedic herbal oil. Rosemary oil, rosemary mint, strawberry oil. Slather it all on your scalp. And I would go in and I'd use what little of the oils that I did have, and I'd slather it on my scalp, and almost immediately my skin broke out. And I knew this doesn't work for me. I think it's so important to find systems in your natural hair care routines that work for you. Like, maybe another person can put a bunch of oil on their hair and it works, but for me, that just does not work. And honestly, I feel like a lot of these techniques and these trends and these viral moments on how to take care of your hair are all just a little predatory in a way. Because really, honestly, and I'll close out here, the basics work. And for a while, we were shunning hair grease. There was like no real reason for us to dunk on hair grease. I remember the reason why I wasn't really a fan of greases like Blue Magic is because everyone I knew who styled my hair, even my stylist, would whip out the Blue Magic to flat iron my hair. I do not recommend doing that. You're probably not supposed to use Blue Magic with heat. You're really just supposed to use Blue Magic with like your natural hair. Just style, you know? I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But really, there was nothing wrong with Blue Magic at all. It might not be like the greatest hair grease. I switched from Blue Magic to Softy, and I like Softy a lot more. You think when you were a kid and when you had like the little kid hairstyles with the gumballs and the berets, and like how healthy your hair was back then probably, versus now when we are like over manipulating our hair all the time. And when I say we, I don't mean like all of us, right? But a good chunk of us are, you know, over manipulating our hair a lot and doing different things, dyeing our hair, putting in sew-ins, putting in lace fronts, putting in braids, putting on all this stuff for our hair, right? And trying all of these crazy products and all these crazy techniques. And now we're looking at a technique from a white woman. Like, what? Like, see if it'll work for us. And it's like, dude, like, I'm pretty sure your black beautician, your black lady beautician told you the same damn thing, okay? Like, hello? But the basics really do work. They really do work. And going back to, you know, our roots of whipping out the pomade, whipping out the hair grease, I don't know. I think that's good for all of us. Again, shout out to Narada and Henny for promoting that movement, because they were on that hair grease time way before it got popular like this year. They were on that stuff like in like the late 2010s when I first discovered. Shout out to them. But yeah, after I used hair grease a couple of times and I realized that it really, like, you know, less is more. You do not have to use a lot on your hair. And I don't like slather a bunch of hair grease on my hair. I just use like a very light amount to run my fingers through my hair with, and then like coat my ends, right? I find out that like hair grease is superior, and the old school stuff probably was a little bit better than what we're using right now. Now, there are some hair care products out here that are made with good intentions and are organic and healthy and all that, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a lot of it's just fluff, and it really doesn't matter what product you use as long as you are just consistent in the routine. But yeah, that's all I got today for my natural hair care routine. Hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself. I'm gonna close things off here. It's been fun and it's been simple, and I can't wait to see how my hair flourishes in the next couple of years. So definitely ready to take you guys on that journey. I'm done, guys. I am donezo here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video, in the next hair care routine that I do, okay? As always, I like to close things out by telling y'all, don't forget to drink water. That's also very important for hair growth. You should probably drink water, okay? You got to stay moisturized, all right? And hydrated. But yeah, y'all, take care. Bye.